So in my previous video, I had introduced Mrs. my former therapist. Now I'm going to show why the official story from Lenape Valley Foundation, the county, and Mrs. is baloney. And actually, it's not Mrs. story. Mrs. has apparently told me what seems to be the truth, which is that her supervisor had found my YouTube channel. This is from Mrs. Okay. That her supervisor had found my channel, had found a video mentioning the ages of girls, and that was why they wanted me to get a psychiatric evaluation. So it seems like Mrs. had told me the truth. But that's not where she was misleading, and it's not where she was gaslighting me. That comes later. However, she was not acting ethically. She did not take proper responsibility, and she did lie to me, because the official stance from Lenape Valley, from the county, and apparently now from Mrs. although that's not what she told me, but the official stance is different from what I was told, of course, which is why I might have to have the state look into this at this point, because it just keeps getting me to go to higher and higher levels of governance. Okay, so I'm going to show why it's impossible for me to have as Lenape, as the county is saying, supposedly sent links. I did not send any links, until after she asked me for links in a session where she accused me of stalking women online by taking the side of my harassers, and then stating that she needed me to send her links to prove that I was telling the truth, that I was being stalked, threatened, and harassed, despite the fact that I had brought this up in therapy for over 4 years, not with her, but with other therapists. I only had her for a few months at this point. Needless to say, she was talked up as a great therapist by her coworkers, but yet she completely overreacted to something that I was telling her. I told her flat out, look, there's a lot of crap on me online that's not true. What's she do? Automatically believes the crap about me online, without trying to clarify anything, without asking me a question, okay? So, this is my first invitation to an online session with her. I had met with her in person for a couple months prior to this. I met with her in person, and then she had to move. I'm not going to say where, because there's things about her life that are not, the public doesn't need to know, okay? I'm not a complete scumbag like she is, and like the people she works with are. So this is me asking her, because I was confused. She sent out the invitation first thing in the morning, so she invited me to a session, and I just wanted to make sure I wasn't late. I said, our meeting is at 2 p.m., right? And she said, yes. Okay, that's our first session. Okay. So, this is my apology after, I guess it's like our third session, maybe, second session, something like that. A second telehealth session, not second session. We had seen each other maybe, 5, 6, 7 times prior to this in person before she had to move. So, this is where I wanted to clarify with her, because I could tell that she was upset by the things I said. So I said, blah, blah, blah. In closing, I want to apologize if I've made you uncomfortable. If you read this, she had overreacted again. She would constantly overreact to everything I was saying, and I didn't know this at the time until after I decided to discontinue therapy. Okay, after I decided to discontinue therapy, I started looking into her and found out she's a cooped liberal activist therapist. Okay, and you can't be an activist therapist. If therapy becomes activism, it's no longer therapy. So I said, I have an odd schedule, no schedule. She looked like she was going to set professional boundaries. I went over this in my other video. I worked in mental health. I know about that stuff, and it's difficult for women to set boundaries. I was explaining to her that this also happened a few months back. Okay, and you can read this on your own. It's right here. You can pause the video, read it on your own. It's just a simple apology. I was apologizing for her overreaction. She would constantly overreact. So the next session, which is not in an email, because that's not how I don't record the sessions. Nobody records the sessions that I'm aware of. But that's where she confronted me. She said, quote, they, meaning her agency, Lenape Valley, had found my YouTube channel. She then said they, meaning her agency, wanted to make sure that I didn't have any firearms. Okay? She also repeatedly reiterated that she was not concerned, they were concerned. She was not concerned, they were concerned. Then I was explaining to her that I was being harassed. Then she turned that around into, oh yeah, well, why are you being harassed? Why are they harassing you? Implying that I was at fault. Okay? Now, what you'll see here, these are some of the emails that I had sent her, but you will notice it's not until 8:30. 8:30. So she confronted me on 8:30, okay? It's not until after she confronted me at the behest of her company that I sent them my YouTube channel right here. Why did I send them my YouTube channel? Because I had a feeling that whatever the hell her supervisor found was not my YouTube channel. That's why I sent that. Okay? So it's not until the 30th, which is months into working with this woman, before I had sent her any links. It's also not until I sent her any of these things, which, as you can see, these were sent after she had asked for them. Now, this was turned around by the county, who stated that this was why they were concerned, that this is when they became aware that I was being stalked, harassed, and threatened. It is not when they became aware. They were aware of this for many years, and 6 months prior to this had accused me of being psychotic for complaining about this very harassment, to which they sent me to a hospital in Lancaster, where the attending psychiatrist said, no, I just Googled you. You're really being stalked, threatened, and harassed. It's actually happening. And as I said, I have a number of police reports. I have documentation and third-party witnesses, including other mental health workers that are verifiably stating, yes, this is happening to this guy, but for whatever reason, this agency did not want to believe that, and now they're claiming they weren't aware of it, despite me bringing it up for 4+ years in therapy, and them trying to 302 me, saying I was psychotic for the very thing they're now saying, oh no, we agreed with them all along. Moving on. So I want to go over some gaslighting phrases that are used in therapy and by so-called professionals to make you think that you're less than them, or to make you think your understanding of reality isn't reality and their understanding of reality is the understanding of reality. You're crazy. Okay, now Mrs. was nice enough to put that into psychobabble terms and tell me I have a lot to work on, ignoring the fact that she has a lot to work on, probably more than I have to work on. Okay, but the thing is, what she's saying by you have a lot to work on is she's trying to make me believe that my understanding of reality is not the same as her understanding of reality, and her understanding of reality is right. Now, she also tried to state that the reason, now this is what's interesting, now, one of her 18 specialties, think about that, think about any medical or doctor of osteopathic manipulation, think of any real real practitioner of the healing arts in their early 30s, are they going to have 18 specialties? They might be lucky if they have one specialty other than general medicine. Okay? So my point is 18 specialties is quite a bit. One of her specialties is DID, dissociative identity disorder. So she explained to me in one session that the reason I'm angry isn't because I'm angry that people do the things that they do to me, or at least it was implied heavily that was what she was saying, but instead it's because I have dissociative identity disorder symptoms. Not that I have dissociative identity disorder. See, she was warming me up to that to try and convince me I had DID. No, I don't have it. I just have all the symptoms of it, which is all that a mental illness is a symptom cluster. There's no... if there's no cause of an illness, and it's just a bunch of symptoms, it's not an illness, it's a bunch of symptom clusters. That's why they call them disorders. But, so she says I have a lot to work on, and she states that the reason I'm angry isn't because people are doing what she did to me, or what her supervisor did to me, or what these other people did to me. It's because I have DID. Now, what's funny is, before she discharged me, she did admit to me, she said, I understand why you're mad. And the reason I'm mad is because of what they did. They took what they saw on YouTube as face value after years and years and years of me complaining, no, this is what's going on. I'm having to call the police on these people. I have police reports. They're threatening me. They're giving me death threats. I have police reports. You tried to 302 me when I was trying to get in a hospital, which is insane. And then that was thrown out by another psychiatrist that said, no, he's being stalked, threatened, and harassed, and now you still don't believe me? That's why I was mad. Okay? So, and now I want to explain this. Mrs. Did start by telling me the truth. She started by saying, they found your YouTube channel, meaning her agency found my YouTube channel. Okay? They, meaning her agency, wanted to make sure I didn't have any firearms. Okay? Then it was, again and again, she wasn't concerned. And then it's, well, why are you being harassed? So-and-so thinks you're crazy too. Now, she never went that far. It didn't happen that way. This is what's being reiterated, despite the fact that I have documentation, third-party witnesses, and a psychiatrist stating that it happened that way. Okay? Despite all that, they're saying the county... I will say this. Mrs. has never said it didn't happen that way. The most she's done is shut up because she doesn't want to lose her job. So she'll act in an unethical way to keep her unethical job. Okay? So the most she said is they're not going to clarify anything any more than they clarified them already, which was not clarity. Now, when I showed how they clarified, when I said that initially, and she might not even know she said this, she goes, that's kind of messed up. When I explained how they explained it. And I'm going to show you how they explained it, and then I'm going to show you my response to what they explained. Okay, that never happened. Again, this is being reiterated again and again and again. They keep telling me that they didn't overreact. They didn't have these things. I have documentation. I have evidence. I have witnesses. That's not what I meant. Now, what's funny is she has actually never disagreed with me when I called her out on her gaslighting of me. The most that she's gotten to gaslighting me is she had accused me of making something up in front of a witness, and I told her flat out, I said, oh, no, you definitely said that, and she just shut up. She's smart enough not to contradict herself. If you cared about me, you would, blah. She never went there, of course. You always blow things out of proportion. Now, that was something she accused, she didn't accuse me of blowing it out of proportion. When I was on the phone with a witness, she explained that the whole thing is being blown out of proportion. She didn't explain by who. Was it me? Was it her agency? Was it both? Was it her? I think it was her. I think it was her agency. This is why you don't have friends. She never went there. Don't get so worked up over this. She has tried to explain that to me. You can't take a joke. She never said that. You have no clue about. She's never said that. You made me do it. Of course, she's never said that. I'm the only one who's responsible in this relationship. Ironically, I've said that to her. In the therapeutic relationship, I was the professional. I was the responsible one. But that's not gaslighting when it's backed up by facts. Okay, I'm going to get moving on here. This doesn't apply. No, what's funny is this situation here where Matt Gaetz corners the head of the Department of Defense about Drag Queen Story Hour is very reminiscent to the radical liberals that run Bucks County and the radical liberals that run Lenape Valley Foundation and how they respond to me. And you'll see this is how radical liberals respond. And they're trying to gaslight Mr. Gaetz, but they're not having very much of an ability to do that. Why are they not having very much of an ability of doing that? Well, because this is on the Senate floor here, but let's listen to what is being said here, and you'll notice that this is basically the rigmarole that I'm putting up with in a different way, about a different topic. But this is the radical left's response to when you question them on their bullshit.
Slide. I guess my question is, how much taxpayer money should go to fund drag queen story hours on military bases?
You know, drag queen story hours is not something that the department funds.
Well, wait a second. That's actually not what the record seems to suggest. You were going to fund one at Ramstein Air Force Base. That one got canceled, but that's DOD insignia. That's a drag queen story hour for children. Then also at Malmstrom Air Force Base outside of Great Falls, Montana, you had a drag queen story hour for kids. At the Joint Base Langley Eustis, you put on a drag Queen Story Hour on a Saturday for the first ever kid-friendly diversity, equity, inclusion summer festival. And at Nellis Air Force Base, you had the Drag You Nellis on June 17th. Who funded these things, Mr. Secretary?
Listen, drag shows are not something that the Department of Defense supports or funds. So.
But why are they happening on military bases? I just showed you the evidence. Why are they happening?
I will say again, this is not something that we support or fund.
So you think hosting a drag queen story hour on a military base isn't supporting the drag queen story hour?
I stand by what I just said.
But you may stand by it, but it's belied by the evidence over and over again. I mean, are you aware of the piece? Biden's military, Air Force Base in Montana holds drag show, drag queen story hour for kids in the Western Journal. Are you aware of that?
Again, I will say what I said before.
You're saying what you're saying, but I guess it just doesn't comport with the facts. General Milley, this will be my last time to question you.
Now, I want to explain this. Thanks to this video, I did learn a new word called caucasity. And I want to explain that the caucasity of the folks that run Lenape Valley and the caucasity of the liberals that run Bucks County is outrageous. They are full of caucasity. Now, let's move on.
Mentioned 2 years ago that you wanted to better understand white rage. And so my question is this. Did you read this book?
No, not at all.
Well, it is What is White Privilege is the book, and it's actually written by a DOD official, a senior official in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and there are now hundreds of these books in dozens of schools, and I wonder if you guys connect this to your problems with recruiting.
I've never read it, never seen it. Frankly, I don't even think about that stuff. I think about
go ahead and put up the next slide.
About the readiness of the force.
Go ahead and put up the next slide, please. Okay, well, in the next slide, this is a tweet by one of your employees in charge of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it's patently racist. They say that she had to give Karen the business.
Now, what you need to understand is anything that's diversity and inclusion, essentially what that means is exclusion of white people, particularly white heteronormative males. Okay, so, and that's the problem that we're having with mental health, as I've talked about in my previous video. The problem, and another previous video, is that therapists are brainwashed into thinking that white men are predatory, and white men are going after women, and white men are evil, and white men are trying to hurt everyone that's a woman and everyone that's a minority. So it's very hard to get objective therapy, especially from a completely kooked liberal lunatic like Mrs. Which I didn't even know, because she covers it up pretty good in therapy. But she's apparently a kooked liberal nut job. Okay?
That she talks about caudacity, presumably of Caucasian people. So I guess, why does the... well, why is that person...
I'm sorry, it wasn't caucasity, it was caudacity. The caudacity. Caudacity.
Even for me, that's terrible. It's wrong. She shouldn't be doing that. Period.
Should she be fired?
That's a DOD employee, not U.S. military uniform.
Should they be fired, Secretary Austin?
Again, as you heard at your subcommittee here, this incident was investigated, and
they're still employed. Mr. Chairman, I have a series of unanimous consent.
Exactly. You can be as racist as you want against white Americans, and as racist as you want, and sexist as you want, and prejudiced as you want against the sexual orientation of white heterosexuals, particularly white heterosexual men, and nothing ever happens to you. Because that's the kind of world we live in now. So is what Lenape Valley and the county are doing to me, is that gaslighting, or has it mutated into the world of gang stalking? Okay? So let's see about this. The reason I'm asking this is because they're on the same page with my harassers, or at least they were, until I proved them wrong. Okay, and they couldn't get out of that, now they're not. So they were on the same page with the people online that were making up stories about me. So everyone is suspiciously on the same page. A hallmark of gang stalking is eerie sameness. Everyone says the same things to you. Everyone acts in the same ordered ways, as if cloned, mind-controlled, or manufactured along with the Stepford Wives, blah, blah, blah. There are no dissenters, although I must admit, Mrs. is a lone dissenter, although she's a coward. 2, you feel uncomfortable and don't know why. Another sign of gang stalking is the constant lingering sense of discomfort. This was the feeling that I was always being judged constantly by my therapist instead of receiving therapy, and that had to do with her judging me, essentially. The facts don't add up. This is an important one because I have the facts. The facts are on my side. I have the documentation. I have the witnesses. I have everything that's factual on my side. So, gang stalkers twist the truth like they did at Lenape Valley, like they do at the county. As a group, they will deny events that actually happened and invent new things that never happened. As they did, they said that I sent those links prior to Mrs. Beecham asking me for them, and then stating that that's when they became aware of the stalking, harassing, and threatening, despite me bringing it up for 4+ years in therapy. And them trying to throw to me 6 months prior for psychosis related to the stalking, harassment, and threatening, which was thrown out by a psychiatrist who said, no, he's being stalked, threatened, and harassed. You feel trapped in a bubble. This is why I stopped therapy, actually, is because I was getting nowhere with my therapist. She was continually judging me. Her whole demeanor changed when she went from being honest with me and open with me and working with me in a therapeutic manner to being closed off, to being critical, to being different. Okay? And she might not have even noticed that. I'm not even saying she noticed that, but her whole demeanor about me changed. You notice regular small changes that everyone else ignores. Repeat, and delete. That's how they do things. That's why I like to talk to them through email. And why I like to have witnesses present. You don't trust yourself anymore. That's what they tried to get me to do. They tried to get it so I won't trust myself, but that doesn't happen. Okay, now we're going to move on. So this is one of the many official lines of events. This is from supervisor, and she finally on September 12th got back to me about what was going, or what she thought was going on. Now, none of this is true, and I'm going to explain why. So I said, what spurred the desire for Lenape Valley Foundation to suggest a psychiatric evaluation? Now, Mrs. had told me on the phone with a witness present that the reason why was Ms. had Googled me and found a video mentioning the ages of girls, and that's why they wanted me to get a psychiatric evaluation. Okay, that was the reason why. So what's response? In routine supervision with your therapist, shared that you made shared with me that you had asked her to watch and subscribe to your YouTube channel. I did not. I jokingly asked her to watch a video on the Mediterranean diet that I had just made. It was a joke. And then that weekend, I immediately apologized to her because it had made her uncomfortable. And she said, now this is what's funny. This is grounds for a psychiatric evaluation. Asking somebody to view your YouTube channel is grounds for a psychiatric evaluation, right? That's what she's saying. There's two reasons. That's one reason. So she's saying because I had asked my therapist to view my YouTube channel, which I didn't, I was joking, but because of that, that's grounds for a psychiatric evaluation, okay? See, this was an unusual request. I asked her to share the link with me, okay? I did not send her a link. I did not send Kelsey a link as I had shown. I did not send her a link until the 30th, which was about a week after this shit. Okay, so I consulted with my Lenape supervisors, blah 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 blah, to advise on how to best support you. So their way, I suppose, of best supporting me was to have her interrogate me, to say that they found my YouTube channel, because that's what said they, meaning and then her people, found my YouTube channel. Later, it was confirmed from to my case manager that she claimed that they didn't know existed, despite them writing the referral for him years prior. They didn't have any idea he existed. So that was the whole thing. So now they're saying, oh, we agreed with you. Okay, so I said, why was it thought that I should get a psychiatric evaluation? So this is what's funny. At the time that the suggestion was made, we were not aware that you were already receiving case management. Now, mind you, the suggestion was made as had told me on the phone with a witness, because had seen a video that she thought was me, or she thought was an accurate depiction of me, that mentioned the ages of girls. That was the reason for the psychiatric evaluation, the suggestion of the psychiatric evaluation. Not because of any of this bullshit. This was made up later. But they're saying they didn't know I had a case manager. Now, that's bullshit, because one of their therapists wrote the referral for the case manager. Okay? And that is impossible for them not to know. Not to mention I had brought the case manager. Now, number one, when the guy wrote the referral for the case manager, the therapist at the time, I argued with him for 2 sessions about whether or not I needed a case manager, because I didn't think I needed a case manager. I didn't think I needed that level of support. So eventually I said, okay, fine, whatever, do whatever you want. Okay, so I got a case manager. That's noteworthy. That should be in a note that I was arguing with him that I didn't need that level of support when he thought I did. So if that's not in a note, that's crazy. Not to mention I brought my case manager up in session a number of times, both with Mrs. my current therapist at this time, and with every therapist prior to her since I had him since I was on his caseload. So who specifically thought I should get a psych eval? So apparently she consulted with okay. How was my getting a psychiatric evaluation going to help me? Well, they thought that there were additional services which they could offer. That's not true. That does not agree with what I was told by Mrs. Was anyone contacted regarding my mental health record / mental health status due to you erroneously thinking I was a threat to any specific individual, group, or organization? They claim no. I think they're lying. Now I'm going to move on and I'm going to show you something here. So, unfortunately, the letter was illegible, but essentially, of the county covered up Lenape by simply parroting everything that had said. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a point-by-point deconstruction. Like I said, the letter that she sent me was illegible when I tried to take a photo of it, and when I tried videoing it, it didn't look right. So I'm going to do this instead and just show my response to letter. Okay, so, and this is the facts are the facts. Okay, that's the name of my channel. Don't wear that out. The facts are the facts. So I only shared links with, it should say LVF, Lenape Valley Foundation Therapist, meaning Mrs. After she had told me in session that they, Lenape Valley, had found my YouTube channel and wanted to know if I had any firearms at her suggestion to prove to her that I was being stalked, threatened, and harassed, as I had continually brought up with Lenape Valley therapists and staff for at least 4+ years, and for which Lenape Valley Foundation Crisis had misdiagnosed me with psychosis and attempted to 302 me for, which was disproven by the attending psychiatrist, Dr. at Lancaster Behavioral Health, also had stated to my case manager that she had viewed a video and at first believed it to be mine. It says me mine, but it should say be mine, but then changed her mind. B, I was told by the links were circulated amongst Lenape Valley Foundation's supervisory staff. C, told me on the phone with my case manager present that had presumed the videos were mine and that they were concerned due to my mentioning of the ages of girls. I have no idea why put I before D, but she did, so I responded the way she wrote it, and I put I. How the hell was Lenape Valley Foundation unaware of my case manager when they're the agency that wrote the referral to for me to begin services with him, and I brought him up in session both with and 2 previous therapists prior to this. D, Lenape Valley Foundation was unaware of extensive online harassment for over 4+ years, as I had brought it up, Lenape Valley Foundation was aware of extensive online harassment. She's saying they were unaware until the links, okay, which is not true. How could have confronted me for something if they were unaware of it? Okay, it doesn't make any sense. So Lenape Valley Foundation was aware of extensive online harassment for 4+ years, as I had brought it up in numerous sessions, both with Mrs. Beecham and every previous therapist at Lenape Valley Foundation, including who was a previous therapist of mine, including the resolution provided wasn't consistent, and she's saying they provided a resolution. No, they didn't, because it was not consistent with what Mrs. had already told me. Nor has anyone at Lenape Valley Foundation provided a consistent account. I have like 8 different stories from these people. Some of them from the same person. I have conflicting stories. Did indeed say, said that, they didn't share anything with outside sources. Okay, why the hell am I going to believe that with how much they've already lied to me? Okay, and they're saying, and she's saying, I wasn't treated differently because of my race or my sexual orientation or my gender. I said, and this is the truth, I perceived that I was treated differently because my therapist is an avowed and open feminist therapist, which can be confirmed online. Okay, feminist therapy declares that white heterosexual men are oppressors of all women and non-whites, which can also easily be confirmed with basic research or common knowledge of what feminist therapy is and what its ideological roots are. This was unfortunately a waste of my time to involve the county, as I had already thought, and that it would not be nothing but an incestuous cover-up, as it always is. So this is an invitation to a county meeting to help consumers so-called advocate. This meeting is run essentially by Mrs. I don't know whether she's married or not, but you'll notice the fist, okay? You will also notice that BLM, the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, the Jewish Defense League, and Antifa use that same symbol, okay? So what I had brought up to the county commissioners and all that, I said, do you think that it's wise to use communist symbolism on county websites and documents associated with mass murder and ethnic cleansing, including the ethnic cleansing of Ukrainians in the Holodomor by Soviet forces, as well as with the communist regimes of China, Cuba, Nicaragua, Vietnam, etc., particularly as the USA is potentially on the precipice of war with the Russian Federation, which seems to be attempting to revive national pride through the use of these very same types of symbols. Also, WTF does walking while black have to do with the CSP principles regarding mental health? That's really more of a criminal justice issue, okay? Now, in all fairness, the person that's she's a person with lived mental health experience. Her name is now, to be honest, I do have to give it to her. She does look rather young. And I said, I'm sure it's only a mistake due to your unfamiliarity with the historical murders perpetrated by the various communist governments of the USSR, Russia, and the People's Republic of China, not to mention the Castro regime in Cuba. But I am concerned that perhaps you might wish to reconsider using a symbol associated with mass murder, rape, and ethnic cleansing on your invitations. And to be honest, she is rather young, and we all know that the public school system blows, and that they don't teach history anymore. And she did say, hi, you are correct. I was unaware of this. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. So I do actually have to give it to... she did say she was unaware, and I hope she changes that, because I don't think that using communist symbolism on county documents and county invitations to meetings is an intelligent thing. Unless, of course, you're trying to promote that, our county is violently opposed to people that are white, heterosexual, etc., which might be what they are trying to promote. Who knows? And that's all for this video. I'll continue with another video dealing with how therapy cannot be therapy when it becomes activism, and how academia cannot be academia when it becomes activism. And that's all for this video.